Why, hello and welcome everybody. It is Pohx again. So today I want to go ahead and talk about some new uniques that were showcased on the Path of Exile forums, I believe August 4th, so about 2 days ago. Now I'm actually pretty happy with some of these uniques because they're but they're adding more of a stat that I feel is kind of like a lackluster stat. So let's look at the first one, Praxis, or Praxis, or however you pronounce it. The base is a Pua ring, and it's for... I'm gonna stress this one fact because this is awesome. It's for level 22. Now the reason why I like this ring is it gives flat mana, which whatever, it's a pretty shitty base. Plus 50 mana, which is actually not that bad at all. 5.3 mana regen per second. Now this most likely will scale within a range. -4 mana cost of skills, which is really cool. That might, go up and down as well. And 8% of damage taken gained as mana when hit. That one, honestly, those three stats, those last three, the mana per second, the minus mana cost of skills, and the 8% of damage taken gained as mana are actually like stats that can scale to endgame. The plus mana, I guess you could say as well. The 8% damage taken doesn't really help you too much when leveling, but if you're kind of like a mana tank, which some people have done, that's actually not too bad. It's not the best. Damage taken as mana would be better, but this is still not bad because, like if you take consecutive damage, your mana will go like this. The minus mana cost of skills is very good for leveling, on top of even for like just linking, because that affects the base value, and then all the multipliers kick in. So the -4 mana cost isn't actually -4, it's -4 of the base. Then you have 5.3 mana regen per second. Now the reason why I love that stat, that's the one I was referring to at the beginning of the video, is because there are so few flat sources of mana. Now I can name a couple off the top of my head, and I'm sure there's more. You have the Jewel at the beginning of the game from Crypt. It's the 10% increased elemental damage, and I believe 3 flat mana regen per second, which you can find in normal difficulty. And that's cool, like the 3 flat mana regen is very good. And then you have Clarity, but not everybody wants to use Clarity, obviously at the beginning of the game. But I really enjoy this ring for that sole purpose. I think it's a very interesting ring, and I'm very happy to see it. I'm sick of all this overpowered bullshit. So this to me is a very cool ring. Alright, the next one is called is Valerium. Valerian Steel Kappa. Valerium Moonstone Ring. So it's an ES base, along with ES as well. And it gives... Does that say minus cold resist and plus fire? I think it says minus cold, so the rolls might vary there, potentially like a antivirus, or not antivirus, sorry, I forgot what the ring is called. Fuck, the gamble. Venter's Gamble, there you go. Or they may have answered some questions in the forums. You guys can check that out about what they said specifically. But this is cool because the stun threshold is now based on your energy shield instead of your life. Which basically means you don't ever get stunned as ES, because if you have a 10k effective ES pool, which is not relatively difficult to obtain, you can now sacrifice a ring that still does something, right? Rather than sacrificing an amulet, which is typically a damage piece for like a Chayula, or I don't know, something else that you would sacrifice. This is a very cool one. In fact, if you pair this with a Raider, if you use, if you have phasing where you're immune to all status ailments, and then you use this ring, you're immune to majority of stuff that can hit you in the face that will, immobilize your character. So that's really cool. And then there's this weapon, which, I mean, I'm kind of indifferent towards this weapon, so I'm going to read the description here of what they said. This is the Condors Pride Enzymite Blade. Running a critical strike build with a two-handed weapon can be tricky, especially when the incentives are few and far between. With traditionally low base critical strike chances, it typically takes a lot to bring the chance to critically strike even close to levels above a dagger and wand builds. Condors Pride provides very strong incentives to dip into crit, but also a reason to ensure you don't rely on your critical strikes. If you crit too often, you'll miss out on that life leech, just like the katanas that it is based on. A balance must be struck. I don't really think a balance needs to be struck, to be completely honest. I think they're a little silly there, but this is a really cool weapon because it's one of those weapons like a Marohi, where this weapon is your endgame weapon. You get it, it's done. There's no more scaling. So let's talk about this weapon. I believe it's somewhere in the mid-400s in terms of damage, which I don't remember how strong that is. I think it's close to a Marohi, so it is kind of like an endgame weapon if you want it to be that. Obviously, you could craft a better weapon, but let's talk about this one. So you get physical attack damage, leeches life. That's pretty cool, but let's be honest. If you're dying to Fizzerflect, I don't know what game you're playing, but it's not Path of Exile. Cannot leech from critical strikes, so you can't sustain your leech through crit, but you could get it somewhere else. Or again, the alternative is just get a better sword. 30% chance to blind enemies on critical strike. That's pretty neat. A free blind is never really bad. Not something you should rely 100% of your defenses on, but definitely not something to just dodge, because blind is pretty cool. Although my main concern is most of my builds die from spell damage, so to me it's kind of like Condors Pride. Feels bad, man. Causes bleeding on melee critical strike. Now, the thing about that is I'm a little confused because, and not confused in a bad way, but there's a ring called Void Heart. The special Void Heart, which I'll bring up for you guys here. Void Heart, let me see, is a ring where, and again, obviously not everybody can use this ring, but I'm just giving an example, which gives melee attacks have a 100% chance to cause bleeding on hit, and melee attacks poison. Meaning, you could theoretically use Void Heart, get poison, get bleed, pick up this weapon, and go Resolute Technique. Right? You don't get the crit then, or you could just not, or you could just have like 20% crit, and then you get the occasional whatever, and you still have your standard leech. But that's kind of an interesting way to do it, right? There's a lot of cool things you could do with this weapon. But I don't know how I feel, because like, I don't know, like, it's kind of cool seeing budget things coming out, because I'm sure this won't really be that expensive because, again, of the end game alternatives, but I really don't think the game needs more of this. I think the game needs more of something like this. Something unique rather than something that's just to the point, here you go, you can smash everything. But that's pretty much it. I want to know what you guys think. Obviously, I'll link this for you guys. I'll link this thread for you guys down below, and you guys tell me which one your favorite is and why. And then, of course, if you agree or disagree and why. You know, it's always fun to see a discussion coming up in the comments. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, we do have the Terraria playthrough starting on my stream tomorrow, and we should have some YouTube footage hopefully in the next couple of days. So, if you guys liked it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you can always catch me streaming live every day at twitch.tv/Pohx. Hope you guys had a wonderful time. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. I'll see you boys all tomorrow. Take care, everybody.